Hey everybody, I'm back to start talking about kind of part two of the steps we go through to understand gut health and to heal gut health issues. Now yesterday, look back at that video. If you missed it, I talked about the first step, which was identifying food sensitivities. We have to avoid those foods that we're sensitive to be able to get some healing in the GI tract. But we need some more help than just avoiding foods that we're sensitive to. We need to repair and heal the small intestine, which takes some time and it takes some effort to, one, avoid the foods that you're sensitive to, and then secondly, to take the proper nutritional supplements and eat the proper foods to promote gut healing. So what we look for is, after we have the food sensitivities laid out, we avoid those foods, and then we can do testing here in the office with applied kinesiology to determine, what nutritional supplements can help heal the small intestine and also what probiotics might help. And we also are using Vibrant Wellness Laboratories, and they have a great panel. It's called the Gut Zoomer panel, and it can measure bacterial, yeast, and parasitic bacteria in the GI tract. It's also going to give us a great overview of kind of what's exactly going on in the small intestine and how we can aid in healing that with specific nutritional supplements and dietary modification. So saying that, the panel is a large panel. It gives you tons and tons of information. The first step is we need to look at intestinal permeability. What is your body absorbing undigested food particles through the small intestine, which causes what we call leaky gut syndrome, which I talked about that a little bit yesterday. But leaky gut is an inflammation of the lining in the small intestine. Usually we get a big release of a protein called zonulin, which opens up the gaps in the junction, and then we get an antibody response, and inflammation is always the end product of that. So we get inflammation in the GI tract. So one of the first things we look at in this panel is the microbiome and the ratios that we get in the GI tract, and we can tell if we have what's called gut dysbiosis. Now, gut dysbiosis is where our bad and good bacterial concentrations are not where they should be. So bad bacterial concentrations being higher than good bacteria are always going to cause GI inflammation. That means we're feeding the bad bacteria something that they want, and we are not feeding the good bacteria properly. Usually we see that in diets high in refined and complex carbohydrates, and especially sugars. So when you have really high sugar content in the diet, your body, your bad bacteria, and your gut microbiome love that. So they're eating on that sugar, and they're growing like crazy, so they're over concentrated compared to your good bacteria. So that's one of the first things we look at when we get this lab testing back. And then we can, again, keep looking at intestinal permeability and the gut microbiome. One thing that we do produce when, basically, as you eat prebiotic fibers, we need them to be fermented in the colon or the large intestine, and that creates what's called short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids are really important, and there's more studies coming out on short-chain fatty acids and how they help even control glucose levels, cholesterol, all kinds of things. So a lot of times we see people with a prebiotic need, and common prebiotics found in foods are mostly inulin, and inulin's in really high concentrations in chicory root, dandelion greens, artichokes, onions, leeks, asparagus, flaxseed, and seaweed. So prebiotics are really important because prebiotics are needed so that we can feed our good bacteria, our good probiotics. So if we don't have enough prebiotic fibers, then we're not going to feed the good bacteria, and that's when we start to get that bacterial overgrowth issue. Along with leaky gut, we get serious inflammation in the GI tract. So this test is going to tell us what good bacteria is present, which a lot of it should be, and it's going to tell us if it's in a low or optimal concentration. So what we can do, the great part about this, sorry, I'm trying to find the exact page that shows that on here. So we can see that all these readouts come out, and you can see the name of the bacterium, and then the presence and the concentration, and then what a lowered concentration could lead to health-wise. So say like bifidobacterium is low, that can lead to celiac disease. And then it's going to tell us the exact probiotics that we need, the exact strain that we need to ingest to help raise up those bacterium that are low in concentration. So in this example, like they need Lactobacillus reuteri, and so that's not in every probiotic that you get off the shelf. So this is why this test is so important. We can look at this and say, okay, we need a combination probiotic, but we need to pick out the exact strains that you need and get you the proper strains of probiotics to treat exactly what's going on in your system. So most probiotic pills that you get are going to have Lactobacillus acidophilus and like Bifidobacterium lactis. Those are the two most common. Well, you might not need those. You might be an optimal concentration of those two. You might need another probiotic, another good bacteria, but we have to find that specifically in a nutritional supplement. And so we can find those. And the other good probiotic that I see that's hardly ever used is Saccharomyces boulardii. It's really good if you've had bad bacterial overgrowth or foreign pathogens in the GI tract. So, and that's hardly ever in any of the combination probiotics that you see on the shelf at any of your major retailers or anything you're getting kind of over the counter. Usually Saccharomyces is not included in there. So as we go through this test, there's just so much information that we can gather from the testing here. And one of the biggest things is if you're looking at gut parasites are obviously going to cause major issues in the GI system. If you do not get rid of parasites, your GI system is never going to work properly. Your body's going to always be inflamed, and you're going to be starving to actually absorb your nutrients from your food properly. If you're not doing that, you're going to feel run down. Your body's going to be in more of a starvation mode. It's going to be hard to feel really good. So as you can see here, the gut parasites are listed right there. Kind of, if you can see them. But it's going to show you what concentrations the gut parasites are in, and if you have an issue like this one is a positive result, and this one happened to be Giardia, which is not good. So we'd have to address that issue for sure. And then we also look at pathogenic bacteria. The pathogenic bacteria are listed out here, and you can see if you have any pathogenic bacteria that we need to rid the body, especially the small intestine, of the pathogenic bacteria. And there's more pathogenic bacteria here. So you can see this testing is huge. Just, I don't even know how many pages, it's 17 pages, the report on this gut health panel. So we need to figure out how to address the gut health, and this panel really helps us focus and localize those exact probiotics that you need. So that might not be just lactobacillus. It can be there's tons and tons and tons of probiotics. So we need to make sure we get you the right combination probiotic so that we can give you the right one to improve that concentration. Now that, with avoiding those foods that we talked about in the last video, is going to start stimulating the small intestine to heal itself, and those junctions that are too big, they're going to start to narrow up, and your immune response should start to decrease, and you should decrease inflammation. I'm going to talk about one thing, and we're going to talk about a little bit about nutritional supplements and which products I like to kind of jumpstart the healing of the small intestine. So polyphenols, they're chemical compounds that come from plants. We all know that we probably don't eat enough vegetables and fruits a lot of times, but they're used by our gut bacteria to make beneficial substances. And they also help to keep the gut bacteria balanced. So polyphenols, what foods have polyphenols in them? So celery seed, peppermint, that's the herb peppermint, cloves, cocoa powder, dark chocolate actually, so a lot of people like that one. Elderberry is really good for that. Pecans are good, thyme, flaxseed. So you can see a lot of those healthy foods have great polyphenols in them to help with your gut health. Now saying that, when we go through some of the applied kinesiology muscle testing in the clinic, We're going to look at different nutritional products that can help heal the gut. So we talked a little bit in the first part of this video about prebiotics, and one of those was seaweed. And sea vegetables, in my opinion, are a really good source of prebiotic fibers. So one product that we use a lot, this is called Helio Greens. It's a great greens product. One scoop's about 20 servings of fruits and vegetables, or at least the antioxidant content of that. It has just sea vegetables in it. It's going to help. This is great to take with or right before breakfast to get your system up and running for the day. I recommend this to a lot of patients. It just helps so many people, and it's a great source of more of a whole food multivitamin, but it's really, really great for gut health because it has probiotics in it, 30 billion. This does have Saccharomyces in it, which is pretty rare, like I said before, for a combination probiotic. It also has 700 milligrams of digestive enzymes, so it's going to give the guts a little bit of a break trying to digest everything by themselves. You're going to give some enzymes and help that out. So this is a great product. Greens, everybody can take it. A few other probiotics that I use a lot of NutriWest supplements. This is called Total Probiotics. You can't really see it. There you go. This has 70 billion CFUs per capsule. That's a lot. Most of them that you're going to get a concentration of maybe 6 to 10 billion. This has a lot of different strains in it too. So it's not just the 2-strain probiotic like you see so much on the market today. I don't even know how many strains. It's got like 7 or 8 strains at least. Now saying that, when you're looking at probiotics, I always prefer to get dairy-free probiotics. So that means the bacteria was not growing on a dairy source. I always find if we can get dairy-free probiotics, it's even better for the GI tract than getting, a probiotic grown on dairy, especially since most people have some sort of a milk sensitivity. This product, PB Assist Plus, this is from doTERRA. It's a good product. It only has 6 billion CFUs per capsule, so you'd have to take a lot more of it, but it does have some good strains. It has 6 different strains in it. And it's a good probiotic. It's just sometimes not at the concentrations that we need, but it can be a good probiotic after you get the gut healed, just to stay on something as a normal supplement, not necessarily treating the issue at that point in time. That's after you've been through the kind of more acute treatment phase, but this works to kind of maintain. Another probiotic I use, I don't have a bottle here, it's from Claire Labs. It's called Therabiotic Complete. And it's dairy-free, it's really good, and it's 25 billion CFUs per capsule. Now, that's a really good probiotic. So we have to get you on a probiotic, and if you do the blood work, actually it's not blood work, it's a stool test, the gut zoomer panel is, then we can really rein those, which strain of probiotic you need. We can rein that in and pick out the best probiotic for you. Another thing we use a lot, this product is from NutriWest. This is going to help heal the small intestine. It's called Total Leaky Gut. Total Leaky Gut is great. It has glutamine, slippery elm, ginkgo, Jerusalem artichoke, which is where I already talked about that, how that's a great prebiotic. This will help tighten those junctions in the small intestine so that you can decrease the large particles going through, the large food particles that your body is trying to fight through the immune system response. So Total Leaky Gut's a great product that we use all the time here in the clinic, and it's a NutriWest product. A couple more things. Total Enzymes. Total Enzymes is just that. It's a digestive enzyme blend. You can take that with meals. It's going to help to give your system a little break so it doesn't have to break down everything on its own. You add the enzymes in with meals, and it's going to help to digest, absorb, and assimilate your food. So we use Total Enzymes. There's some really good single enzymes. I use a company called Ness. Ness enzymes are great. They kind of parse things out depending on if you might need, an enzyme that's going to digest fat more, or more protease because it's going to be better at digesting protein. And so it parses out the different digestive enzymes, so we could give you might just need 1 or 2 that you're having trouble digesting, say carbohydrates. We can get you the one that's the best for carbohydrate digestion. So Ness enzymes are really good as well. And then a lot of times we see a yeast overgrowth in the system. So candida overgrowth is pretty prevalent here in the United States, and that causes a lot of issues. Yeast overgrowth, yeast feeds on sugar. Unfortunately, we eat a lot of sugar here, and so we need something to decrease the yeast. So there's Total Yeast Redux from NutriWest and another one called Whole System Yeast, and that will literally help to decrease and kill off the problem with yeast in the small intestine. And again, most people refer to that as candida, and the gut health panel that I just talked about, that will show if you have a candida overgrowth, which can be leading to a lot of your symptoms and issues. So saying that, gut health is so important. There's a ton of other stuff to go over. I don't want to go over everything in one or two videos, so I'll keep doing these probably around lunchtime, Monday through Thursday, to try to kind of educate people on what you need to look for in gut health. The lab testing is huge to help us really rein things in, instead of maybe trying a couple different products and really not getting anywhere, to being able to make it so customized to each patient that we know we should be getting some results. So look at that first video. If you didn't watch the food sensitivity video, that's like the first step. We have to eliminate those foods, because you can get on all the supplements in the world, but if you're still eating those foods that are creating the sensitivities, we're not going to get healing as fast as anybody would want to. But if you combine avoiding those foods that you're sensitive to with the proper nutritional supplementation, that's when we really can see gut healing. Now I've had, when I see new patients with gut health issues, how long is this going to take? I see the initial course of action is about a month after we identify the food sensitivities and get them on the proper supplementation. We want to go through that for a month. Once that month is over, we're starting to get some healing, but it's not going to be perfect yet. Usually it's about a 3 to 6 month protocol. So I'd see those patients at least once a month until we can determine that their system is working properly and they're not having any, response to foods that shouldn't be responding to as far as the immune system, and that their gut is healing. Some of the symptoms that they come in with, IBS, gut pain, sporadic stools, constipation, diarrhea, once that all calms down, we know that the guts are working more properly. They're digesting and absorbing and assimilating the food properly. So that's what we want to see. So we have a lot of products. You can go on my website, drkirkjohnson.com, and I have some links there, and I also have some blog posts up there that go into a lot more depth about gut health and zonulin and leaky gut syndrome. So go check it out. If you have any questions, write it in the comment box, and I will try to get back to you guys. You all have a great Tuesday, and we will hopefully be on tomorrow to kind of talk then about the large intestine and some things that can help the large intestine. Take care, everybody. Bye.